Okay, so this is a big old piece of wood. Let me back y'all out here a little bit because that's a big piece. Alright. You can see it's like, this is from eBay. I love just getting random basswood from eBay or wood. Most of the sellers are pretty good. You can see this is not milled real great. Maybe wasn't kilned that great, but there's no serious cracks in it. But just so not any of the fault of anybody, you know, you can see that like it's from the saw, which is very fast moving. There's like it's the grain's not very dense. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. And the trees are all different, man. When you're carving wood, they're not. Industry and science has not learned how to grow trees out. You can see it's got like a little bit of like growth spalting and stuff, but whatever. It's very light, and you can tell kind of like how dense a piece of wood is. Some carvers like that. If they're good with their tools, they don't worry about tear outs as much. I'm a little chaotic and out of practice, so sometimes the more dense stuff's going to hold detail better. But let's get at this. So this is a big old. Let's see here. I'm gonna slam it on the table. I have a pencil here. We're just going to do a face, I guess, because I had a little bit of a request on that. This is not square at all. And you can see that it actually warped some after it was cut. It kind of swole right there, and it's a little bit off. So we're going to do as usual. This is pretty squat, okay, as far as how thick it is and how big it is. So let's say that like we wanted a face, it would be like maybe this much, you know, that you could fit in. Which is very round, so we're going to be doing a lot of nose. You know, the nose is going to be like there, or the brow line. That's the top of the nose, right? And then that right there. We're going to want to make this more narrow. It's going to have a bunch of space out here. We're going to have, you know, a design choice on what to do. Okay, you guys see that there? So that's what we're going to cut in. We're going to make this V cut here, big old one, get our nose out, and then we'll go from there. All right. So I do have a mower with me, but let's put this back in action, and hopefully I won't get too many splinters from. Actually, we're just gonna take the whole corner off because nobody needs a nose that sharp. Oh, that wood is a pleasure. Let's see how many things I knock off while I'm doing this. Your tool, because we're at the edge of what's really doable with because we're whittling basically, doing this just with a knife. But you can do that with basswood. You know, you just stick with it, and you know it's kind of fun to get those cuts in there. Okay, so let's get serious. Do the top of this brow line. All right, we're gonna decide it's there, and then we're just gonna do some nice V cuts. And this feels really good, I gotta tell you. If you haven't watched the other video, their Mora knife, which is what they're calling this, is very light duty as far as relative to other Mora knives. But for this, it's great. Definitely. Where do y'all think the nose should be? Like there? All right. I guess. All right. We won't go too serious on it. This one we're gonna be a little bit more careful. Because now, once we have this here, that means if this wood can release real quick, it can split and we'll lose that whole chunk and we'll have to start over. And what I would do is I would go to a new, hopefully I don't have to do it. I can't believe I already injured my thumb during this dropping process. People are always leaving comments like, yo, it's nerve-wracking to watch you carve. And yeah, my art in my hand has never been what you would call consistent or controlled. All right, so if you guys can see smoke, it's from some incense. Okay, so we're just gonna work this out a little bit and not doing a whole lot of pressure, although it is a little bit awkward. It's kind of a big piece, but again, the wood is so light. Okay, and that worked a little bit there because this is a little bit curved, so I can do a bit of a scallop cut. It'll handle that. Just as long as you're not trying to take too much off, you can, even with a thinner knife, and especially out here, you have more control in here. That's where there's more power, as on the base of the knife, whatever size it is. All right, so yeah, so I'm in recovery. It means I have a drug or alcohol problem. Whether it was genetic, whether it came afterwards, not my issue. It sucks. It sucks. But recovery is possible. It really is possible. It's difficult during COVID. I'm at almost a year and a half now. And it is something else to go through such a meltdown in the middle of life and lose everything. And addiction is difficult because there's a denial component. There's all this psychology. Long-term recovery, the success rate is below 10%, and it's kind of an old number. And I'm living in what's called a sober home, St. Oxford House, and seeing guys, our average stay is about a month. It's about how long guys make it, and it's difficult. It's difficult to rewrite your life. It's interesting what it takes to kind of go through this. And for me, a lot of it, was building up the courage to try again at life, to hope again. This needs to be stropped up a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's a little bit of tearing out there. That might be the wood, but I know that there's a carver out there that could get that cut with this wood and this tool. And this disgusting strop that I have. This is like it's just like a raw piece of cow butts. You get these sometimes in grab bags, and they have like the brand on them and stuff, and sometimes they have hair. It's pretty gross. But this is like the best leather. It's like the butt of a horse, but a cow is also good. And it's expensive to buy leather, so if you can get these like gnarly pieces and just kind of work with it. Oh yeah, that got better. Okay. Alright, so, different from, if we were doing this a lot smaller, I would be doing all this much quicker and with just like some basic V-cuts. But, this is what I kind of have. I have some other tools, but this is fine. And maybe also like, in my early career, I tried different types of carving styles and everything, and at this size piece of wood, you'd generally be fixing it to something, right? And like in the magazines and everything, they have all these like vices that are like adjustable. It's like an arm, and they're just not stable. And especially if you go up to the mallet tools, you're in a different game. And I just, partly because of like some back issues and stuff, I didn't want to be standing all day, right? I like the whittling, the simplicity of whittling, and also that I could do it on my couch. That's how I got so many hours in. Okay, so can you guys tell what's going on though, like where I'm going with this? Because it's still the same idea as when I'm just doing it very small with the knife, that I kind of always go for. I do this brow, and then I get the nose and I start working into this. So how are we thinking about this? Because the corner faces are great, right, for the 3D whatever. By subtracting geometry, it's much easier to get the complexity of a face. So we have the nose, right? That's obvious. It's pretty much, oops, you guys can't see that. It's pretty much just the edge of the wood, right? So you want the cheeks of the face, right? Let's see if you guys can see this. So what we're trying to do here is get the plane of the face, that's the cheeks, and to here, it's kind of a triangle, all right? That is like this, all right? And then because your nose is lifting out of this, that's that pyramid, and then there's a kind of upside down pyramid. And this is where the eyes are gonna be, and then the mouth will be right here, okay? So this is what we're subtracting when we're looking at this. It's kind of from here to here, all right? And that taken out of this shape is going to leave you in a really good situation. You already have your nose. The forehead just needs to be rounded. And then we're just going to kind of basically frame the face with hair. We are having fun. So when you're doing that pyramid, of course, you do want to keep in mind the eyes, where those are going to go. And I think of them as kind of like a little... You think of it like the eyes closed, and it's a pod, I feel like. This is a really tricky proportion and shape. So let's go in here. This is what I do, is I figure out the nose, because I was looking really good. It was kind of getting a face thing going on, but really I have more wood to remove on the side of this nose. So I want to bring that in, okay, because I'm kind of making more of a pyramid. And you could think about the shape of a nose as just being flat, but it kind of goes in, is what you're going to find. And then let's kind of fix that up a wee bit. Okay. So we're going to bring this in more right here. Right here, we're going to remove some more wood as we try to continue. If you just kind of stay on the inside of this nose, you don't have to worry about where the eye is, because it's starting kind of out here. So you just hug the side of the nose there. All right, and then we feel pretty good about that now. So now I'm like, okay, getting an idea a little bit of what's going on with the shape. Like, how's this really going to happen? Because in my mind, I'm imagining this wood's going to drop back, and that, I'm going to get that pyramid. And I'm seeing, like, okay, how wide is this going to go? Because this is going to continue to go in. With those standard small cubes that we do, that are almost pretty much the same. A face fits pretty well on there, but these are never real faces. They're styling tool, but this will come out like this. And just to look at this, because this drawing a line kind of gives you an idea of like, okay, wow, this is going to be kind of like that. I don't know, is that happening in y'all's mind? Somebody wrote a book, and it was called Thinking in the Rough Out. And that's what I'm kind of talking about with these shapes that your mind is imagining as you're going through these. Those small ones that I do, if you guys look at my other videos, it's kind of easier to figure out the geometry. The larger you get on faces, the harder it gets, because you have to know more anatomy. You can't really fudge it anymore. And it just so happens, like, the designs that I have done are also with the tools, with the basic tool sizes. So when you do a cut, it's only kind of a certain size and shape. And with this, I'm like, as you're seeing, I'm having to really describe what's going on. But again, I try to keep the same idea as if this was all one cut, that I'm doing, if it was a smaller piece. Okay, so let's try to define this eye a little bit. And the top of it. Okay. And we're going to round it. People have very different shapes on the top of their brow, how it meets. And usually we don't get too into it because it gets very complex. Because another part about this being large is that the actual anatomy of a face has like convex stuff, and that gets very hard to describe complex curves with the tools that we're working with. All right, we gotta switch over to the parting tool. I kind of wish I had a big old one, like a 1/4 inch. I think is what the next size is. I think that this kit actually came with one. No, that's not true. I think that they generally don't sell like a 1/4 inch, which is bigger than it's the next size up usually. They don't sell it in a palm tool, but with Basswood, you can definitely push it with your hand. When I kind of settled down on my style and tools, it was like pretty much a knife and a parting tool, V-tool. Could do everything because, especially with Basswood, you can just draw everything, with the V-tool, and it just gets, as you're drawing the face, the lines of a normal face, you're making it 3D. Okay, so let's do the bottom of this eye, and again, don't worry about the shape of it. Just doing the outside, like the whole eye, as in one cocoon. This is where I mess up a lot, is that the eyes are different, but people's eyes are different. If you look at celebrities and stuff, which usually you have to look at them on video because all their pictures are touched up, their eyes are different. Everybody's eyes are different. In popular education and Western education, they say that beauty is symmetry, and it's such horse crap. The most symmetrical people are going to be in the most, beauty is relative, right, in the eye of the beholder, but kind of not. Like, to a certain extent, we kind of know, right, like, when people are well put together, or they're interesting, and it's kind of a definition thing. But definitely symmetrical, no, because you can have a beautiful female with half of her face melted off, or that you can't see half of her face. My mind's all dark. I'm like, with half of her face melted off. If you can't see half of her face, she's still beautiful. You don't need no symmetry. Like, that's such a scientist explanation, trying to define beauty, because they were probably very symmetrical people, right? Just like I heard an actual study where people put out that more intelligent people listen to Radiohead. Well, who do you think put out the study, right? They're like, oh, we found out we were stupid. Trying to pull off, man. Science does some arrogant, weird stuff. It really does. I think it should be called Scientology, but that name is already taken. Alright, so it's looking alright, right? And especially, see how I'm just doing these lines? It's like, oh, wow, the face is making sense now. It's kind of framing it up and being like, oh, this is what's going on. Faces, a lot of times in your early carvings, will be kind of like tiki people, and that's fine. You guys know what I mean when I say tiki people? Like the carvings that they do on very large, those poles and stuff in the island places. But it's also a good way to think about it. Like, if you're getting that, you're doing well. Yeah, I'm kind of I'm feeling it. All right, so we're gonna go in here and define this a little bit. And then let's try to get these nostrils out. This one's a little bit wide. I talk smack about the symmetry thing, but that's what I'm kind of constantly looking at. And I'm also like, because I'll look at it, I'll be like, which side strikes me as working out? And then I'll try to bring the other side to that. One of the nice things about, like this hand carving is there's all these happy accidents, as is known now from our saint in happy art, the great Ross spoke of you know, that so the mind can, it's like looking at clouds, looking at the shapes in clouds. And when we see these kind of, you know, rocky terrains, our face sees what, it places faces on it or different shapes. And then so what you want to do is chase after those. And this is my whole strategy in general in art, but definitely in carving. You know, I did not measure this out beforehand. Instead of trying to, you know, draw or carve something that's in my mind's eye, it's much better for me to just work with it as it comes along. Because art is very hard to define, especially what makes it successful. And in carving, I mean, there's so much awesome folk carving, which is what it's called when, like, because it's not somebody who's fancy in the art world, which a lot of wood carving history is, because it was just regular people. And it's so amazing. It's so much better than what was going on in the fine art world, you know, where you have Duchamp putting a toilet in the middle of a gallery and selling it. You know, especially in America, there was this space of time where people had time to entertain themselves, and it was not culture already set up necessarily, and so people would play instruments, man, and they would sing, and the quality of just natural crafts at the time, it's so hard to get to today, and it's just something that even the best in the world in the best recording studio and in the most, you know, the best of wood carving or software programs, when it's measured out, it just doesn't have that. I want to use French and say je ne sais quoi. You know, I looked it up at one time what je ne sais quoi means, and it doesn't mean anything. It means like special something or something. I don't know. Who knows French? You guys are always so great about leaving the comments. Oh my god, I still get them for the rooster videos, because I don't know what the comb and although some of y'all call it different things, the comb and the crap underneath the beak is called, and I still get, it's been like years of people commenting, that's a comb, idiot. I mean, some people are nice about it, but I love the interaction, okay? I love it. Yeah, I like this. It's looking good. The eyes were working out. More than you would think. You want to do bags under the eyes. Okay, it works really well in carving generally, is having that big old squinty old man thing. Because you can always take those away a little bit. And really, they often end up getting described more than a cheekbone. And so that worked out. Okay, so what are we going to do with his hair and the rest of the face? Let's decide now. I think he's got a beard. I think that's whatever. You know, I'm kind of sick of like the spirits always being the same when I get into this beard, because I'm usually tired by then. So let's leave him abstract. Let's work with the shape a little bit and this rough wood and the rough finish, and we'll kind of have him blend into it. So he is a bit of a wood spirit. He's kind of emerging from the raw state. Although in this case, I don't know. It's not really raw straight when it's cut like that, but y'all know what I mean. There's a contrast, right, of blunt will projected and demonstrated, and then more defined and chaotic will projected onto this wood. All right. You know, yeah, I cut myself a lot in early carving, like you wouldn't believe, and including some, I think 3 trips to the emergency room, and every you know, carver, new carver especially, is definitely going to injure themselves. Most beginner kits come with band-aids, or they used to. Okay, we need to get into this here. You know what's weird about this knife is that I have a design exactly like it in my documents when I was talking before I met Paul from Deepwood Ventures. I was trying to get some people to make some freaking knives that were decent. Very similar design, except not the way that this handle is. I don't like the flex cut handle. Y'all study. Come on, the Murphy knife. This ergonomic, it's like the Pepsi of handles. People choose it in the taste test, but you actually have to go for the whole cup. It's too sweet. Pepsi is too sweet. Alright, you guys want me to go into this story instead of making some weird, bitter reference? So, I don't know how old you guys are. There used to be a bunch of talk about taste test challenges, right? And so there was the Pepsi Coke taste test challenge. This was not just an advertising thing. They actually did this in research and talked about it. And Pepsi was sweeter, and so people in a taste test would choose the Pepsi. They're like, yeah, this tastes better. But in actual practice, because of the way that going through a soda changes, because it's changing chemically and the flavor is changing, specifically, okay, what the idea is if you guys have left a soda out and the carbonation goes away, it's disgusting and it's so sweet you want to throw up. So as you get through a glass of Coke, and it depends on the size, basically that enjoyment starts to change, and also how much sugar is on your palate. Man, our society hates sugar, and I kind of get it, but it's what if we hated things that were bad for the environment instead? What if we were because I know people aren't actually caring about their health and their bodies. The air is so disgusting, in New York, they were you can't eat food that you grow here. It's not healthy because the air is so gross. But don't worry, air has a natural, it gets refreshened through an air filter. All the pollutions just go into a magic place. I know, I'm sorry. I'm a bleeding heart. What is the issue? Do you guys want to hear about it? Because we are kind of on, we talk about this on the verge of change. What are humans going to do? And we kind of don't know what to do with life if we figured out all of our food and work stuff, through artificial intelligence and some other technology. What do we do? Humans have been we've been surviving and competing, and it wasn't a problem. And now we're at a place where, basically we were celebrating, right? We've been through a long time of celebrating, living off the fat. Because it's crazy, man. Humans, as far as, if we'd actually been talking about, this is what we've accomplished, Instead, we've been competing because we're a distributed intelligence. Nobody planned to make this society. There's no government that is really in that much control or plans or something. And how we organize ourselves is an issue. And I can tell you right now, it's impossible to have an organization that's top down. There can be some, but as far as what motivates people and in what direction we go, inspiration and motivation, what are we going to do? What is the plan for humans? First of all, right, is let's have a plan that Earth lasts and people are okay in 100 years. Because we don't have a plan. What if we had a plan for 200 years, or keep going? Because this life, man, if y'all have had any kind of gratitude, and I have a hard time with gratitude, but this life is crazy magical. Crazy magical. Science has this horrible outlook. Everything is meaningless and random. And it's just not. You know, we have to put our foot down on that. We should be celebrating life. We could make this place, if we were like somewhat organized, even with technology now, no changes, if we just had like some sort of, you know, where we like put stuff into future generations. Does that sound weird? And be like, you know, what do you guys want to do? This is what's going on. This is what humans have done so far. This is what hasn't worked. This is what has worked. This is going to be a long video. I need to get going quicker. I'm going to go through War and Peace of my entire philosophy. Yeah, science, though, it says, because I love science history, man. Newton, Mendelssohn, I mean, you name it. There was a lot of years of some brilliant people that would be pretty much hated today. Basically, we're caught in this trip because we're so stressed, and we're looking for magic all the time. We're looking for miracles. And the miracle and magic of this life is that it does make sense, that it is mechanical, right? Obviously, it doesn't completely make sense, at least not in our minds, and our logic does not make sense for something to come from nothing. It doesn't make sense for a story to not have a beginning. Even if you say it's just on a loop, it doesn't make sense. So why are we here? What is the meaning of life? I think the meaning is pretty obvious, right? The meaning isn't in the experience, and you know it's kind of set up by the rules of this universe, as if there's another one. But then it's you know, exploring life and obviously keeping it going, which we're not doing right now. We're mostly using our free will to sacrifice everything for the current experience. And that was fun for a little bit, but I gotta say it's very similar to addiction. We're starting to seemingly hate ourselves, right? And to get away from the responsibility of growing up and putting together a plan, or looking at maybe, because we are not good people as far as our definition. With perspective, we're just humans. And, you know, obviously, if we acted like this, it's because we're human. But, you know, how do we wake up and do that? Who inspires people? Because we have free will. It is not as free as we're kind of made to believe, because we are from here. We may have souls, but we are in material bodies, and I would say that it's all one thing when it comes down to it, that our soul and the magic of us being aware and awake is tied into this world. And we're like, oh, but if we die, we're gone. And we get caught up on this trip. And it's so silly. Because certainly, if we're overpopulated and life doesn't continue after us, then we're not weaving ourselves into an eternal storyline. So we keep going from martyr syndrome to different anxiety story to keep from growing up, you know. In addiction with single individuals, changing our story takes a horrible experience usually. We don't change easily. We have to go through the gift of desperation. It's hard to say. Everybody seems to be waiting for the other shoe to drop on nature or the economy so that we kind of wake up. But that may not happen. So don't lie to your children or young people. Ask them, how do you change the world? How do you inspire others to not focus on all of the bad stuff and to celebrate life? And not just celebrate it by burning everything around you, but celebrating it by making it better, right? Through act, through worship of mechanical function of making things better. I don't know what I'm talking about, y'all. Please excuse me. I am just a simple craftsman. Just talking. Maybe you guys are bored. Maybe you lack some intimacy, or you want to hear a crazy person. We all float down here, Richie. Okay, how do you guys... Has this been out of frame the whole time? Oh, no. It has a little bit, hasn't it? Oh, that's so horrible. Okay, so this is where we are. I like it. So I think we're going to stay in leaving that cube there. Kind of like he's wearing it. What time is it? I'm supposed to be getting a call from a guy that we interviewed. But I don't get calls, which is kind of a good thing while I'm recording. We're recording this here in the studio using a phone. But boy, have they changed. I used to have to, when I started, back in my day, when I started on YouTube, I was having to use all kinds of, if you go back on the channel, not even that long ago, I'm having to use, which was a nice camera my mom got me. Oh my god, speaking of my mom, shout out to my family. They've been super supportive after a lot of years of horror and confusion and pain all around, but we're all doing a great job, and I appreciate their support. And this sweater is, I've been kind of sweating a little bit. It's a little bit too warm, but my mom got me this for Christmas, so it's fine. I'm an adult. Okay. Yeah, I think one of the issues with our idea about how we think and how we work. We still have this idea that we can think our way, just mind over matter, into anything. And that's true a little bit. But if we all live in smaller and smaller cubes in solitary confinement, making media that has been copy and pasted by people that have been exposed to less and less of true intelligence and emotional displays, falling back on criticism and irony, then I don't know, right? Especially if we continue to shut down. But the one nice thing about COVID, because it's been crazy, y'all, our anxiety level, similar to 9/11, has been detrimental to our creativity and our emotional intelligence. But we're all thinking the same thing. And if I was looking at us like we were a species, and like this was natural and kind of supposed to happen, right? I'd say, this looks like things are shaping up. Maybe it's not too late. How long have we been recording this? Oh, we're at 45 minutes. It's not horrible. It's not horrible. You guys usually will, some of you, will watch like half an hour if there's enough action. But I don't know, because y'all, how much, like, I can't barely sit and watch things as much recently. That's like step one. But maybe not. Maybe doing just like I'm talking about, as opposed to watching more content, is the answer. Oh look, we got a text. Okay, take a short break. I think that we're pretty much done here. This lighting has brought out some nice stuff. I would just have to be messing with this for too long to get a whole lot better, and talking and carving, especially for detail work, does not work real great. But hopefully you guys got something out of that. I know that I had fun. I feel like I shared way too much. But yeah, that's what I'm here for. Okay. So yeah, I think this works though. And if I was going to leave this, right, like I would just kind of leave it and let it also age a little bit, and it'll just look cooler. Like in 10, 20 years, you know, this thing will be cracked. It'll look like a ship's head or something, you know, and have like its own natural patina. If you don't put varnish and stuff on the woods, if you just wait, they'll get like a beautiful finish of their own on it. So, all right, I hope you guys enjoyed. Carve safe.